Something big just happened in the Myrtle Beach real estate market. And if you're only watching national headlines, then you're going to miss the real story.
Because the June closings show one part of our market tightening fast, another part finally improving, and one segment that is still clearly giving buyers leverage.
The June numbers are in, and when we compare them to April and May, the market looks very different than it did just a few months ago. All right, today we're breaking down the June 2026 closings across the Grand Strand, the Carolina Forest area, the Oceanfront Condos, and new construction.
And by the end of this video, you'll know where buyers still have leverage and where sellers may be gaining the upper hand again.
So let's start with the Grand Strand single-family resale homes, because this is one of the biggest changes in the June report.
In April, Grand Strand single-family homes had 7.4 months of supply. In May, that dropped to 6.3 months. And in June, it dropped all the way to 4.2 months of supply.
That's a major shift. The average sold price also moved up. In April, the average sold price was $512,000. In May, it dipped down to $486,000, but in June, it jumped back up to $518,000.
So after that May dip, prices rebounded in June.
The average days on market came in at 106 days, which is almost the same as April when it was 106 and slightly higher than May when it was 104.
So homes are not necessarily selling dramatically faster, but inventory has come down in a big way.
And that is what buyers need to actually pay attention to. The market doesn't have to be moving at 2021 speeds to become more competitive. When supply drops from 7.4 months to 4.2 months in just 2 months, that changes the negotiation environment.
Homes closed at 96.7% of list price in June, which is higher than April and May.
So buyers are still negotiating some, but with only 4.2 months of supply, they may not have the same leverage as they did earlier this year.
And the average active list price was $635,000.
Now compare that to the average sold price of $518,000, and you can see that buyers are choosing value. The homes that are priced right are moving. The homes that are overpriced are still at risk of sitting.
So if you're a buyer, you still need to be smart. But if you see a good single family home in a good location, you may not want to wait too long.
Exactly. And if you're a seller, this is encouraging. The single family market is much healthier than it was just a couple months ago.
Now let's talk about Grand Strand condos and townhomes. And this is where the data gets really interesting.
In April, condos and townhomes had 9.6 months of supply. In May, that improved to 8.2 months of supply, and in June, it dropped to 5.9 months of supply.
That's a huge improvement. For the first time in a while, Grand Strand condos and townhomes are much closer to a balanced market.
But before sellers get too excited, there's one important number that we have to talk about: days on market.
In April, condos and townhomes averaged 125 days on market. In May, that increased to 129 days. And in June, it jumped to 148 days.
So even though months of supply improved, condos are still taking longer to sell. And that tells us that this market is improving, but buyers are still cautious and selective. The average sold price also increased in April. Condos and townhomes averaged $261,000 in May and $258,000 in April, and then $264,000 in June.
So prices are slightly stronger, but that is not a market where every condo is suddenly easy to sell.
Exactly. Condos closed at an average of 97% of the list price in June, which is slightly better than April, but lower than May.
An average active list price of $265,000. That is almost exactly in line with the average sold price of $264,000.
Which tells us that pricing is getting more aligned in this segment. But buyers are still taking their time.
And they are still looking closely at HOA fees, insurance, assessments, rental rules, condition, and the total monthly cost.
So if you're buying a condo or townhome, the market's not as soft as it was earlier this year. You might still have negotiation room, especially on properties that have been sitting.
And if you're selling, this is better news than we had in April or May, but you still need to price correctly and make your property stand out.
Now let's talk about the Carolina Forest area, because it's one of the strongest stories in the June data.
In April, Carolina Forest single-family resale homes had 7.3 months of supply. In May, that dropped to 5.7 months. And in June, it dropped all the way to 3.6 months of supply.
Oh my God, that's a major shift because at 3.6 months of supply, Carolina Forest single-family homes are no longer just balanced. They're in a much tighter seller's market. The average sold price also jumped. In April, Carolina Forest single-family homes averaged $543,000. In May, $488,000. And then in June, they jumped back to $561,000.
That's the highest average sold price of the last 3 months.
But there is one thing to watch. Average days on market increased. In April, the single-family homes were 98 days on average. In May, that was 92 days. But in June, it increased to 106 days.
So even though the supply is much tighter and prices are higher, homes are still taking time to sell. This is not a market where sellers can ignore pricing or condition.
Exactly. The average list to sales price ratio in June was 96.3%, which is lower than April at 98% and May at 97.8%.
So buyers are still negotiating in Carolina Forest, even though inventory is tighter.
That's a really important point. Low supply doesn't automatically mean that sellers get whatever they want. Buyers are still value conscious.
The current average active list price is $618,000.
Compare that to the average sold price of $561,000, and you can see that buyers are still paying attention to price. But with only 3.6 months of supply, the best homes may not sit as long.
So if you're buying in Carolina Forest, you need to be prepared. Know your budget. Know the neighborhoods. When the right home comes up, be ready.
Definitely. And if you're selling a single-family home in Carolina Forest, this is one of the strongest segments that we are seeing right now. But your pricing strategy still matters.
Now, Carolina Forest condos and townhomes also improved in June.
In April, Carolina Forest condos and townhomes had 9.3 months of supply. May, that improved to 8.4 months of supply. And in June, it dropped to 5.2 months of supply.
That's a big improvement. This segment moved much closer to balance. The average sold price increased too. In April, it was $187,000. In May, it was $198,000. And in June, it jumped to $220,000.
That's a noticeable increase over the last 2 months.
And the list to sale price ratio improved as well. In April, Carolina Forest condos and townhomes closed at 95.7% of list price. In May, that improved to 96.8%, and in June, it improved again to 97.3%.
And that tells us that sellers in the segment are getting closer to the asking price than they were earlier this year.
Days on market improved too. In May, this segment averaged 160 days on market. In June, it dropped to 130 days.
That's still a long time, but it is a big improvement from May.
With an average active list price of $203,000.
And the average sold price was $220,000, which may suggest that the better priced or better quality properties are the ones buyers are actually choosing.
So this is a better report for Carolina Forest condos and townhomes than we had in April or May.
But sellers still need to be careful. A 5.2 month supply is healthier, but 130 days on market tells us that buyers are still not rushing into every listing.
And buyers may still have opportunities, especially if a property has been sitting or needs updating.
Now let's talk about Oceanfront Condos because this is still the softest part of the market.
In April, Oceanfront Condos had 11 months of supply. In May, that improved to 10.3 months, and in June, it improved again to 8.7 months.
That's moving in the right direction, but 8.7 months of supply is still a buyer's market.
Closed sales were actually steady.
But the average sold price dropped, and in April, Oceanfront Condos averaged $306,000. In May, that's $321,000. But in June, it dropped to $293,000.
That is the lowest average sold price of the last 3 months.
The list to sales price ratio also declined. In April, it was 96% of the list price. In May, it dropped to 95.6% of the list price. And in June, it dropped again to 95.4% of the list price.
So even though inventory is improving, Oceanfront condo sellers are still giving up more from list price than other segments.
Days on market also increased again. In April, Oceanfront condos averaged 142 days on market. In May, that improved to 126, but in June, it went back up to 140 days.
So this is still a slow-moving segment.
An average list price of $311,000.
And the average sold price was $293,000. That gap tells us buyers are still negotiating and still choosing carefully.
And we know why. HOA fees, insurance, special assessments, rental income, building condition, financing, and renovation costs are all major factors right now.
Buyers are not just asking, can I afford the purchase price? They're asking, does the whole investment make sense?
So if you're buying an oceanfront condo, you might still have leverage.
But if you're selling, you have to understand that this is not the same market as Carolina Forest single-family homes.
Oceanfront condos are improving, but they are still carrying the most inventory and the most buyer caution.
Now let's talk about new home construction.
In April, the average sold price for new construction was $441,000. In May, that dropped to $424,000. And in June, it dropped again to $406,000.
So the average sold price for new construction has come down over the last 2 months.
But builders are still closing very close to list price. In April, new homes closed at 98.6%. In May, they closed at 98.3% of the list price. And in June, they closed at 98.1% of the list price.
And that is still a strong list to sale price ratio. It tells us builders may be adjusting pricing or offering incentives, but they are not dramatically slashing prices across the board.
So now let's talk about incentives, because this is where buyers really need to pay attention.
In May, less than 1/3 of new construction buyers received concessions.
In June, less than a half of buyers received concessions, and those incentives ranged from $1,000 to $23,000. However, most were $10,000 or less.
So incentives are still available, but they are not guaranteed.
And the amount can vary a lot, depending on the builder, the community, the specific home, and how quickly the builder wants it closed.
One buyer may get help with closing costs. Another may get a rate buy down. Another may get design credits, and another may get very little.
And that's why you can't just look at the base price. You have to compare the full deal.
Price, interest rate, closing costs, lot premium, upgrades, appliances, blinds, washer and dryer, timeline, and resale potential.
The best new construction deal isn't always the one with the biggest advertised incentive.
It's the one that makes the most sense for your total cost and long-term goals.
So what's the big takeaway from the June 2026 closings, Frank?
The Grand Strand market improved sharply in several areas, but it did not improve evenly.
That's right. Grand Strand single-family homes went from 7.4 months of supply in April to 6.3 months in May to 4.2 months in June, and that's a major shift.
Carolina Forest single-family homes moved even faster. They went from 7.3 months in April to 5.7 in May to just 3.6 months in June.
That's now one of the strongest resale segments that we are seeing.
Condos and townhomes improved too. Grand Strand condos and townhomes dropped from 9.6 months of supply in April to 5.9 months in June.
And Carolina Forest condos and townhomes dropped from 9.3 months in April to 5.2 months supply in June.
But oceanfront condos are still a buyer's market. They improved from 11 months of supply in April to 8.7 months in June, but they are still carrying the most inventory.
And they still have the lowest list to sales price ratio of all the segments that we've discussed today at only 95.4%.
So if you're a buyer, your strategy depends on what you're buying.
And if you're buying a single family home, especially in the Carolina Forest area, the market is tighter and you might need to move more quickly on that property you love.
If you're buying a condo or townhome, there may still be opportunities, but the market is improving from where it was earlier this year.
And if you're buying an oceanfront condo, you may still have the most negotiation power, but you do need to be extra careful with those numbers.
For sellers, this is not a one-size-fits-all market.
Single-family sellers may be in a much better position than they were a few months ago.
But condo sellers still need to price carefully, prepare the property well, and understand that buyers are comparing total costs. So the message this month is simple. The market is shifting, but the details matter.
Location matters, property type matters, condition matters, and pricing strategy matters more than ever. If you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or moving to Myrtle Beach, we'd love to help you understand what these numbers mean for your specific situation.
We work with buyers and sellers all across the Grand Strand.
And if you're considering new construction, make sure you reach out before you walk into that model home.
Call 704-910-9111 and contact us today. Builder incentives are changing and the best deal is not always the one that looks the best online.
And make sure you subscribe to the channel because we post weekly Myrtle Beach real estate updates, community tours, market reports, new construction walkthroughs, and more.
And if you have questions about your specific neighborhood, property type, or whether now is the right time to buy or sell, drop them in the comments below.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.